Evil is back. The Drool King Lotor has returned with a dark energy that can destroy the galaxy. Our only hope? The Voltron Force, a team of 5 heroic pilots that control 5 awesome robot lions. When Lotor's monstrous road beasts attack, the lions come together to form Voltron, defender of the universe.
Oh! Let's Voltron! Oh! Let's Voltron! Oh! Let's Voltron!
Welcome, Voltron fans. This is Mark Morell, your host for Let's Voltron, the official Voltron podcast. We're here for another exciting episode review of Voltron Force in the 10th anniversary year of Voltron Force since it came out in 2011. And I have to introduce my co-host, Greg Tyler. Welcome, Greg.
Hello, Mark. Hello, Voltron fans and listeners and viewers of the podcast. It's the 7th month of the year. We're reviewing the 7th episode of Voltron Force. So it's good that we have 19 months left in the year to review the remaining 19 episodes.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get through all these episodes at the pace that we're going at right now, especially with VoltCon coming out later in the year, right?
That's true. That's true. But the next episode is Flash Form Go, so maybe we can record that at high speed.
There you go. We'll use Daniel's VoltCon. How's that?
Right. That's right.
Okay, well, we do have a guest to help us review this episode. And of course, the episode we're reviewing is Lion Rider's Return.
All right.
So we are going to be bringing on a guest. And who do we have with us, Greg?
We have Mama Voltron herself, Marika Levine. Marika, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Hello, how you doing?
Fine. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
It's great to see you. I haven't seen you since VoltCon 2019 because I
Yes.
missed 2020. But
That was
you,
unfortunate. Yes.
yeah, what were you up to during 2020 at VoltCon?
Long story short, it was not a very good year. Basically, what ended up happening was I had to have 2 emergency surgeries in the space of 3 weeks, and
Oh my Lord.
it was interesting. I'll put it to you that way. But I'm here, and I'm coming back, and one day at a time. But I'll be at VoltCon this year, and perfectly happy to be there, and I'm doing better.
Well, and you were at VoltCon in 2019 and 2020.
Yes,
right?
I was.
And I look forward to seeing you again in 2021. And Mark was fortunate enough to see you both of the previous years, and he's planning to be there this year as well. So
Excellent.
It'll be a great reunion.
Definitely.
Yes. And we're glad you're feeling better today.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So are you excited about the next upcoming VoltCon?
Of course. I'm working on cosplays, and I'm working on a new panel, and we're going to have a great time like we always do. And I'm looking forward to seeing the family, as I like to call you guys.
Yes.
And it's one of the things that keeps me going, is that I know I'm going to get to see everybody, and I'm going to get to be around people I consider to be more than friends, but actual family members. And looking forward to it amazingly.
Yes.
Just like in the TV series, we are found family because we like to hang out with common interests.
Exactly.
Yep. And of course, Kaltenecker will be there.
Yes.
I know. I'm amazed. I'm like, woo, it's going to be great.
Yeah. The human Kaltenecker, not the cow.
Oh, I know.
Yep. So we are excited about going to VoltCon in October. And of course, Greg and I are going to be doing a few panels while we're there.
Mhm.
And we're excited about the costume contest, the trivia contest,
Oh, yes.
all of the vendors that are going to be there. We're excited about, the cartoon room that always shows cartoons. We're excited about all that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great.
I haven't started any panels yet. Have you, Mark?
We've still got time. We're okay. We're all right. Okay.
Okay, good.
We're going to
When
be fine.
I say I'm working on a panel, I literally have the screens lined up. I have the slides, and that's about it.
Yeah, I had actually
They're not
scribbled
filled in
some.
yet.
I'd scribbled down some thumbnail ideas, but I've lost where I scribbled them down. So, oh well.
Go on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So we are excited. We are looking forward to any other, maybe they have a few announcements, to surprise us with before October, we hope.
Yep.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
But we'll see. But
Yep.
we know it's going to be a great time just hanging out with old friends.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
meeting new ones. Yep.
Yes. All right. So we're here to do a episode review of Lion Rider's Return. It is episode 107, the 7th episode of that one season of Voltron Force that we had.
Yep.
And this one is written by Brandon Sawyer.
Yep, with the story by Todd Garfield and Jeremy Corey, and directed as always by John Delaney.
Okay. Are we ready to begin?
Yes.
Okay. So
Flashform Go. That's the next one.
we start off in the interior of the Castle of Lions, and this time we're in the hangar bay. And it looks like the Lions are getting some attention, some mechanical attention. And we close in on Larmina. And she slides on a pair of welder's goggles and she nods as if she's ready. And she says, "I'm going in." So she's basically doing some mechanical work to the Lions, and it looks like a little bit of welding, right?
Now, can we just say this is an evolution of her character? Because in the very previous episode, the Hunkyard, she wanted nothing to do with machines. And by her bonding with Hunk, she's learned to respect the machine. And now she's actually working on one, which is really cool. Right.
So we actually see her, and then we see Daniel and Vince standing on each of the other sides of the Lion. And they each have a tablet-style computer. Isn't it cool that they were using tablets in Voltron Force?
Yes. Isn't it fun how science fiction evolves from the present of the time?
I just thought it was cool. They're using iPads.
Definitely. And 3D versions too.
Right.
Yeah, I just keep thinking there's an episode of the Vehicle Team, Voltron from the 80s, where the Voltron Force was eagerly awaiting paper mail from home in envelopes and everything.
Snail mail.
Yes,
Right.
Snail mail.
So Hunk says, "Make her purr, Larmina." Then he says to the boys, "I hope you two are taking notes. You're up next." So then when you look at the tablet screens, we see that they're playing a sort of World of Warcraft style game. And it's a virtual game with a Voltron theme playing.
Yes, and the Lions look very boxy. They look like differently colored variations of the Black Lion from the original series. There is at least one shot where you actually see the chest emblem that you would see on Black Lion in the original show, which is pretty cool.
So, yeah, so they're not really doing any mechanical work on the Lions. They're actually playing a game. And Vince says, "Absolutely, notes." And Daniel says, "We are studiously studying." Yes. And then Vince looks at him, and then Daniel says, "Good tune-up. Go Larmina." Yeah.
And he's so enthusiastic about it.
Yes. You almost believe him.
So Hunk comes out from under the Lion, gives Vince a smirk, and says, "Fun game, huh?" And then Vince says, "No, yeah, it is, but it's research." So Vince shows the tablet screen to Hunk. And on the tablet, as Daniel dodges around some of the in-game fighting, we see a few avatars calmly facing each other, having conversations instead of combat. Vince says, "Look, there's a whole underground community of Voltron friendlies, and they've adopted this game as a way to communicate under Wade's radar. It's brilliant."
Now, we don't really see the avatars in the show. You're getting off the script, right?
Right.
They kept the animation a lot simpler than what you've described there. Yeah.
I have found that is true of a lot of the script work, is that they really kept the animation simple compared to what was written in the script.
Oh, yeah.
So Hunk says that's probably why Pidge designed it that way. So we find out that Pidge was actually the designer of this game so that people could play together who are friendly with Voltron underground so that Wade doesn't know about it.
Yeah, we ain't seen nothing yet as far as impressive feats of Mr. Pidge.
So as they're talking, an incoming message comes in.
And that sounds like Giles Panton saying that.
It does sound like him, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Incoming message.
And I'll form the head.
And then you hear a voice on the game says, "Are you one of them?" And Vince says, one of whom? And the other voice says, your skill at the game is incredible. Are you Voltron Force? And Vince looks back at Hunk, and Hunk nods. And Vince says, why do you ask? And the other voice says, please, Ariel needs you. We're a peaceful planet, but Wade's forces have come, and then all of a sudden you see Vince's screen shakes, and then you hear, you are neutralized.
Except that wasn't, was that in the actual episode?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
Yes,
I
it
couldn't
was.
remember. I rewatched it just before this recording, but I forgot that part. Okay.
Yeah, and then Vince says, what? Who just? And then Daniel's pumping his fist in the air, and he's going, yeah, down goes Vince. Woo! I'm like living lightning, too fast for. And then he's twirling his gamepad like he's all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Daniel says, what? So what happened there was the transmission got ended by Daniel defeating Vince's character.
Oops. Slight bug in the program.
Yeah.
Just a little.
So we're actually, that was sort of like the teaser opening, right?
Yeah, that was the entire teaser, wasn't it?
Right. So now we're coming into the beginning of what's really Act 1. And we see Princess Allura. And where is Princess Allura?
She is in King Alfor's tomb.
Yes.
Right.
And once again, I got to point out, I wonder what all those crazy conduits or tubes or whatever they are that radiate outward or converge at the coffin. You know, if you look at the set design, there are these they look like maybe they're data cables or power cables or something. What the heck is going on there? Every time I see that room, I'm like, what were they thinking? I would love to talk to the set designer, but anyway.
Yeah, you'd think all there would need to be is the coffin, and that's it.
Yeah.
So Princess Allura is saying, the cycle never seems to end, Father. Voltron is reborn, stronger than before, but the evil grows stronger to match it. She rests her palms on the tomb, closes her eyes, shaking her head, and she says, at times I wonder how long we can stand alone against it. And then we actually get to hear King Alfor's ghost. Do we know who does the voice of King Alfor?
Yes, King Alfor. He's not credited in this episode, but it is Sam Vincent as Alfor.
Sam Vincent. Okay.
Yeah, because Ron Halder doesn't have any other part in this episode, so it makes
Right.
sense they do double duty. So yeah.
Okay. So King Alfor's ghost says, perhaps the Lion Force should stop trying to stand alone. Do you notice how we called it the Lion Force, right?
Mhm.
So
They've used
Allura-
that term in the show in other areas too, but yes.
Yeah. Allura smiles, then opens her eyes and turns to see King Alfor's ghost. And she says, it's good to see you, Father.
There we
That's
go.
it.
Yay.
That's the whole scene.
Let's have a sandwich.
It was very heartwarming.
But it gives you a good background as to why she reacts the way she does when we see the rest of the cast.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so if we hadn't seen this little scene with King Alfor, we wouldn't have known why she was saying what she said.
Yeah, we would have thought she was loco or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are now in the Castle of Lions Castle control room, and it looks like the cadets are talking to the rest of the Lion Force
Mhm.
about that message that they got from some gamer from Ariel. So Lance says, so this gamer from Ariel actually came to us for help, huh? Feels good to be taking requests again. And Pidge says, word is slowly spreading that we're back, but it's all underground for now. Maybe it's time to put Voltron back in the public eye. And Keith says, if there's a pocket of loyalists on Ariel, all the better. You want to build a pro-Voltron resistance, start with the people who never gave up hope, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Okay, so Hunk thumbs towards the cadets and Hunk says, what about them? And Keith says, again, I think we should start with what people knew, the original 5. We can build from there later. So again, he only wants the original 5 again. This has been a continuous theme from Keith so far in the beginning episodes here.
Yeah, he has a very slow, I guess you could call it an arc, in the sense that he begins to finally confide and trust and support the cadets, and of course he's the one who ultimately later in the show, spoilers, decides to place the ultimate trust in Daniel. But yeah.
So I think with Keith having been out, trying to get Black Lion and everything, and then coming back to rejoin the rest of the team and everything, I think it has taken him longer just to get the idea in that, hey, we're supposed to be training these cadets to take over for us,
Yeah. I mean, considering how long it took him to cut the mullet, I mean, he's a little slow here.
Now, don't speak of the mullet badly.
So Daniel says, fine with us. We got a project to do here anyway. So this is unusual for Daniel, because he's usually on the frame of mind, I want to go. I want to go. I want to go. I want to go. But what project is he talking about?
Oh, I wonder. Solving a Rubik's Cube, maybe?
It's a very secret project.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
I think he's talking about the lair, isn't he? Is he talking about the lair, or is he talking about something else?
Well, they talked about doing something awesome at the end of the previous episode, getting Hunk's help for doing something awesome.
The beginnings of Awesome Tron?
Yeah.
There you go. Could be.
Okay. So Vince says, you're a master of subtlety. You know that? And then Lance says, all right, then cadets stay on Eris. Original Lion Force goes to, and then Princess Allura interrupts and she says, no. The cadets fly to Ariel with us. I don't know why. All I can tell you is that it's important. And then just Lance says, I'm not arguing it with her. So
probably a good choice not to argue with the princess.
Right. So that all came from her conversation with Alfor.
Yep.
Now we are actually entering the atmosphere of a new planet we haven't seen before on the show, and it's called Ariel.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of, what do they describe this as? Like,
looks kind of like a desert planet.
Okay.
Like almost like the Egyptian wastelands.
Yeah. Okay.
And Barsoom, if you're a John Carter reader, or Tatooine.
Tatooine, there you go.
Sort of like Lawrence of Arabia kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would work.
So they immediately see these giant electro spirit beasts. We don't know what they're called yet, right?
Yes. Although they're not even called electro spirit beasts in the show, they're just weird glowy things. Yeah.
Right.
I happen to like the fact that the lions and the spirit lions kind of had a slight Chinese look to them.
Yes.
With the way that they were drawn and designed.
Mm-hmm. And
kind of cool.
Yeah, and we'll learn, of course, they're called Krelshi. And every time I see them, I think of the Krell, the monsters of the id of the Krell from the 1950s movie Forbidden Planet. Mm-hmm. Those those energy creatures that attack the various characters from that movie. So yeah. But anyway.
But the cool thing about these things is they're not always ghosts. They can turn real, or they can turn into a ghost.
Yep.
Isn't that weird?
It is. Totally.
Technology.
Weird. Okay. So Keith says, there it is, Planet Ariel. Everybody stay sharp. Daniel says, what are those things? And Hunk says, so Wade's attacking with what now? So their immediate impression is that these things are Wade's doing, and that the planet is under attack by these things. Right?
Right.
Yes.
That's her first impression. Pitch says, I've never seen anything like it. If Wade created these things, the scope of his technology is far more advanced than I thought. Keith says, we'll worry about the implications of that later. Right now, it's time to create some goodwill. So they start going after the Krelshi. So they get some of them knocked around for a little bit, and then Hunk gets a little bit zapped, and he goes, feisty, huh? And then Pidge says, distance attacks only. Whatever that energy is, it's conductive. So then blue and red lions are doing different attacks like freeze and laser. And then several spots around this temple, there's a pack of what comes out as, I don't, people riding lions, real lions, right?
Yes, and I love that the panels or the hatches that come out of on the front face of the temple are aligned vertically. You know, it's like there's a hatch, one jumps out. Above it, a hatch, one jumps out. I mean, it's just neat. It's not one little door opens and they all run out. It's kind of cool the way they do that.
That actually threw me off guard at the beginning. I was like, wait a minute, where are they coming from? And I realized, oh, there's hatches. So yeah, that was an interesting way of designing it.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that the title of the episode is Lion Rider's Return. So immediately at the beginning of this episode, we're seeing some people riding lions. So they must be the Lion Riders.
I guess so.
Yep.
So so Keith says, Alora, Lance, on your tails. And then the Lion Riders ride up to form a defensive line between the other Voltron lions and the Krelshi. And Keith starts to move his lion forward, ready for a fight. And he says, now that we know whose side everyone is on. And then
Sure they do.
and then Pidge's lion steps in front of his and says, Keith, wait. Pidge says, this can't be Wade. Something else is going on here. And then they hear from the leader of the Lion Riders. And he says, have you not insulted us enough with your sacred theft and destructive machines? Now you send us these mockeries of the Voltron Lions. You push the Lion Riders too far, Sky Marshal Wade. So they think the lions are Sky Marshal Wade.
Mm-hmm. Whoops.
And Hunk says, wait, us? Wade? And Pitch says, oh boy. Lance says, hey, Keith, I don't think your goodwill mission's going so well. And Keith says, my goodwill mission? And then Princess Alora, you know, on this split screen, she comes in the middle and says, let's try this again, gentlemen, shall we? And all the lions stop and kneel down and their mouths open. And Princess Alora comes out and says, citizens of Ariel, we're actually the good guys. I promise. And the leader of the Lion Riders notices her as a daughter of Aris. And he says, a daughter of Aris. And then everything seems like it's okay because the next scene, they're just walking together. And Princess Alora says, well, Chief Callan, my new friend, we'd like to apologize again for the confusion. When we saw those creatures attacking the temple, we assumed they were the threat you mentioned in your message.
And this is why you never assume.
Yes.
You know what? Out of you and me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns into a Three's Company episode.
Love it.
It's all about misunderstandings.
Yep.
So Chief Callan says, message? What message? And then he looks around behind him and he sees this dark figure in the back. And then we get the idea that maybe that dark figure in the back was the one that sent the message.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel sees the Krelshi flying up above and everything. And he says, that seriously doesn't bother you? And Chief Callan says, the Krelshi are peaceful creatures by nature, an essential part of Ariel's harmonious spiritual aura. And Lance says, whatever you're thinking about saying right now, take a deep breath and then don't. Because Daniel looked like he was going to say something again.
Yeah.
So Chief Callan says, the problem is weight. His machines have been drilling deep within our planet, trying to extract corite, a powerful metal ore found only on Ariel. It's driven the Krelshi into a frenzy. And Keith says, whatever help we can give, the Voltron Force is behind you and your Lion Riders. So what do you think is made from corite?
I'm thinking weaponry, because at this point, that's kind of what Sky Marshal Wade is after, is a way to best everybody and a way to get his, not to put it weirdly, claws in it. But that's what I'm thinking. You know, it's something to do with that.
So if he can have like a very strong metal that can stand up to the Voltron Force or anybody else out there, then he'd be unbeatable, right?
Basically, yeah, there would be nobody to stand in his way.
Yep.
And he, I guess it wouldn't help if it came from something a little mystical and ancient like Ariel, where, you know, maybe there's a little bit of mystical power to that Korite as well.
Exactly.
Okay. So Chief Callan says, then help us kick Wade's forces to the far corner of the galaxy. Hunk says, just the answer I was hoping for. And then Keith says, lead the way. So the Line Riders move out, followed by the Voltron Force. The cadets start to follow, but Allura stops them. She says, I'm sorry, cadets, but your mission is here. And they say, what? And she says, I told you I didn't know why you needed to come, but my father feels. And then Vince interrupts her and says, you saw King Alfor? And she gives him a smile and she says, yes. And I sense I'm not the only one. And she says to Vince, you clearly have a gift for things beyond the ordinary, Vince. Use it. My father felt it was important that you, especially you, come to this place. Your task is to find out why. So Allura, Keith says, Allura, we're moving out. And Allura says, follow those instincts. And then she exits to join the others, and Vince is a little confused and Daniel's a little bit peeved. And Daniel says, and us, did we just get dragged along on this mission for decoration? So Larmina looks Daniel over and says, me, maybe. You, doubtful.
I love the look on her face when she says me, maybe.
Uh-huh.
that smart aleck kind of ha 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 look. It's great.
So Vince says, okay, anybody know where to go looking for a mysterious higher purpose? I thought Loki was going to appear and say, I am here with glorious purpose.
Now that would have been an interesting episode.
Over my head, I've never seen any of the movies or shows with Loki. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So from in the shadows, we see a figure that is trying to get their attention. And you see his pad with the avatar on top. And Vince says, my avatar, I'm guessing our mystery gaming buddy? And he says, I am called Daigo. I could sense it was you from the moment you entered the temple. I must tell you, the way you play the game, you truly are special. And then Vince blushes and Daniel's even more offended. He says, hello, did you not see me totally frag Vince's guy in the same game? And Daigo says, I did, and I'm surprised the Voltron Force would let a cheap shot artist like you onto their team. Wow.
Of course, my mind immediately went burn.
Burned, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to point out that the voice of Daigo is provided by Ashley Ball, who is the voice of Allura. And her voice sounds very different in this character than she does as Allura.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's through her performance here as Daigo that I recognized her as the voice of the title character years later in a PBS Kids show called Ready, Jet, Go. She plays the voice of Jet Propulsion in a really? Yes, it is a great show, by the way. It's just a lot of fun, teaches about space, and it's got Dr. Amy Meinzer at the end with all these cool space science tips. So great show.
I need to watch this.
It's good.
So Daniel, feeling this burn, he's like, what? And Larmina says, you're not the only one who's been wondering.
Huh.
Double burn.
So Daigo says, come please, I must show you the reason I asked the Voltron Force to come here. So now we're in a completely different area than we were before. It's like a cavernous mine.
I love that establishing shot too, with all the catwalks and the structures, and it's just really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we got to see some nice background art in this one.
Mm-hmm.
The cadets are looking around at this big expanse, and this seems to be somewhere under the temple structure. Vince says, whoa. And Larmina says, this is incredible. What is it? Some sort of mine? Daigo says, yes, but also more than a mine. The temples you saw on the surface, the mines down here, they are all connected physically and spiritually. So has anybody seen Avatar, the movie by James Cameron?
Way back when, yes.
Remember how the whole planet seemed to be connected? You know, there was that main tree, and then there was like everything seemed to be connected.
Mm-hmm.
And then the avatars with their the things that they rode and everything, they needed to connect in with those things. You know, everything was connected basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like the same way here. Vince says, whoa, yeah, this is definitely important. And he touched the walls and it started to glow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So Daniel says, you were right to bring us here, kid. Don't worry, the Voltron Force has got it under control. Daigo said, this isn't why I brought you here. That is. And he points to the one big wall of rock, and you see a giant drill coming out of it and then reverting back in.
Yeah, it's actually a pair of side-by-side drills that emerge and then withdraw. Yep.
Yeah, and Daniel says, whoa. And Daigo says, where is it going? Larmina looks down and says, I have a guess. So what do you think her guess is?
Down.
I figured the surface, but
yeah, I thought to the Voltron
into...
Force, right?
Okay, but she was looking down. I just thought, well, maybe you know, did they only send enough machines to attack the lions? I honestly thought they were going to continue going down while the other ones went up. But anyway, I don't know.
It seems like if Wade has machines there, then he would want to, you know, try to battle the Voltron Force.
Okay, you two win.
try to get the lions back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess there's some logic there.
He sees them as vigilantes or fugitives, you know,
mm-hmm.
and he's expecting to arrest them.
Of course,
that's gonna happen.
I don't know. So up on the surface, the Lion Riders are showing the original Voltron Force, a huge hole in the planet's surface. And they're outside their lines, so they're standing nearby it. And Lance says, Wade's machines did this? Hunk says, with an entry hole like that, they must be huge. And Chief Callan says, their size is only one concern. The powerful ore at Ariel's core is nearly impossible to penetrate. Our ancients used to possess sacred smithing ability, but that craft has been lost to the ages. He has somehow found a way to mine our precious corite. Whatever he's brought, it's no ordinary machine. So that ominous news is meant by an even more ominous rumble. And Chief Callan says, they're coming. And he says to the Lion Riders, mount your lions. And then, of course, Keith says, like the man said. So all those guys go to their lions.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you see the drills come to the surface, they slowly advance, and then Wade's voice comes over the speakers. And Wade says, Voltron Force, this planet is under the protection of the Alliance. You are ordered to cease and surrender to my authority. Did you see what the original script said there, Greg?
No, I did not dig that deeply for this review. I'm sorry.
He had originally said, you are ordered to cease your illegal activities and surrender to my authority.
Okay.
So I guess, you know, they didn't want to come out and say that they were doing something illegal or something like that, or that Wade was accusing them of doing something illegal.
Yeah, this might be one of those cases where they wanted to drop a word just to keep the plot a little simpler.
Right.
To people who hadn't seen some of the previous episodes, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So Lance says, you want to tell him where he can stick his authority? Keith says, yes, I do. And Pidge says, Keith, the drills. So he's got a view of the drills on his monitor, and he's manipulating some controls around the monitor, and he's calling up some analytics. And Pidge says, I think I know how they're penetrating the corite. Lance says, great, you're still the smartest guy I know. Can we fight now? Pitch says, they're Hegarium tipped, which means they can drill into our lions too. So how does Wade get Hegarium on his machines?
Frankly, it is never explained in a simple way. You have to read between the lines. I mean, the lines later in the series, where they establish, spoilers, that during the initial battle between Wade's giant robot lion and the Kala beast, that they became linked telepathically. And so presumably, as part of their link, she provided him somehow with access to Hegarium. It's the only rational explanation I can think of, although they never, ever spell it out.
And you
Or
never
you could go with the other version that he got it illegally. And
well, that's possible too. Yeah.
So you never see a scene with Wade and Mayhawks together, right?
Nope. No, I mean, in the very last battle before the, again, spoilers, when the big giant mega combined Wade, Kala, Spider Lighter, or whatever you want to call it, Robeast, goes to Planet Doom, that you could argue that is where the Robeast, and through that Wade encounters Mayhawks, but Wade has no interest in Mayhawks himself.
No.
So, yeah.
The drill's actually doing that to the lions. And you see 3 of them, black, red, and yellow, and they're all like screaming in pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how that ends before it goes to commercial.
Dun, dun, dun. Act 1 over.
Act 1 over, right? So we start out Act 2. Princess Allura is getting thrown around. In fact, her lion lands on its back, and Blue Lion is able to right itself back up onto its feet. And then we see the full battle in process. And then Pidge says, this doesn't make sense. Where is Wade getting Hegarium? And then Lance says, we're taking a beating here. I say it's time to pull out the big guns, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So Keith says, ready to form Voltron. And then they do activate interlock, dinotherms connected, infracells up, mega thrusters are go. Let's go Voltron Force. And then Keith says, form red center. And then he starts out with form feet and legs, form arms and body. And then he says, take the lead, Lance. And Lance says, and I'll form the head.
Mm-hmm. And this is one of the things I really love about Voltron Force, relative to other shows, is that they animate a lot more variation in how the lions come together, not just red center, black center, whatever. They don't use, even when they're just forming black center, they deviate from stock footage more often than any other Voltron show before or since. Because Legendary Defender had the one stock sequence that they would show longer or shorter cuts of, but it was always the same footage. Whereas this is the first example of seeing red center Voltron being formed, where you see red, in the standard formation sequence, the black lion, you see this shot where it's sort of stretching up into the sky with its front legs down to its sides and its back legs stretched backward. They're doing that with the red lion here. And it's just neat to see that. That's just one of the examples of how they shake things up by showing different shots than you normally see, just to add a little more visual spice to it. That's all.
Right. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like you had said that earlier on your Facebook post. You had said you never get tired of seeing them form Voltron.
Yes.
On any version.
That's true. And Voltron Force in particular, because they do have more variety than any of the other shows, again, before or since, which is really cool. So, yeah.
I think for me, the way they formed Voltron, like in the original series, it was the music. It was the piece of music that always went with the formation. Voltron Force, as you said, they've got many different versions, which is great. Like I happened to notice when they were forming the red center, how Black Lion kind of smushes down on itself a little bit, like kind of shrinks back, which I thought was really kind of cool. And yeah, exactly. The extra stuff that they're able to do with those sequences.
Yes, and I this is the only community where I can admit this. I have studied all of these shots with ridiculous levels of scrutiny, because I plan to someday make a custom Voltron Force toy. And the amount of trickery that they do to make all this work, to make it look like these lions are doing what they're doing, is really amazing. If you look really close up as they're doing stuff, they do a lot of really fancy animation and editing tricks. Like the whole thing of the lion seeming to collapse with the black lion, really clever stuff with editing. So there you go.
Agreed.
Yeah. So the first thing that Lance says is draw magma pistols.
So then Voltron forms a pencil and draws magma pistols, right?
No.
Okay.
We got some giant red guns.
Yes.
All right. So Lance says, stand back, riders. The defender of the universe is coming in hot. So he quickly raises the right pistol, actually spinning the gun.
I liked that.
Yeah.
So how is it spinning it? Around one of the teeth?
Yeah,
in
I don't know.
Black Lion's mouth? Or
It's not like he has fingers,
Yeah.
So he fires a blast of magma at a drill and it just blasts apart, right? And then hot magma melts holes in those giant machines and they scramble to avoid the blasts. And then the Lion Riders start cheering Voltron on. So Lance says, looks like the charm offensive is working.
Can I just say that I like the fact when they formed the red center, the way that the wings were on the back kind of gave a little bit of a upcoming picture, if you will, going back in time, of what Legendary Defender would look like. The Voltron Legendary Defender. I noticed that and I'm like, hey, I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. I mean, you wouldn't know it unless you've already watched Legendary Defender, but I was like, that's kind of a throwback to it, or a throw forward.
That's a great observation. Yeah, that is really cool. Thanks
Blue Center
pointing that
Voltron.
out.
Yeah, later Blue Center Voltron's spread angel-like wings are kind of like Legendary Defender's Black Lion, when the wings get really big and the lion, does its weird teleporting thing. Yeah.
Yep. So now we're back in the mines, and so Daniel is saying, now that they've seen the drills and everything, Daniel says, we have to go help them. And then Larmina says, what's the fastest way to the surface? And then Vince holds out a hand to stop his friends, and he says, guys, wait. I'm worried about them too, but Alora gave us our own mission, remember? So Larmina seems to accept it, but Daniel still scowls. And then seeing Daniel scowl, Daigo adds, you must learn to trust Vince. You can just tell he's special. So Larmina says, cute kid, I like him. And then a little while later, they're in a different room where there seems to be some hieroglyphics.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you guys take notice of the hieroglyphics and what was on them?
Oh, yeah. There are many graphical depictions of Voltron.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes, neat stuff, and drawn like he is in this show.
Right.
So there are those who think that maybe this is a sequel to Defender of the Universe, but this is an argument against that, because these supposedly ancient glyphs have Voltron looking like he does in the present of the show. There are some other visual cues that might suggest otherwise in other episodes, but this seems to solidify that Voltron always looked like this in the continuity of this show.
So Vince says, it's weird. I feel like I'm powerful down here. Daniel rolls his eyes, then walks over to Larmina, and Daniel says, you can read that stuff? Larmina says, not fully, but I've got a bit of ancient language training. And then based on his look, she says, royal education. It's comprehensive. So Vince says, what can you make out? And Larmina says, it's something about the link between lion and man. I can't be sure, but I think there may be something about Voltron here too. Does that make sense, Daigo? Daigo says, we've always been loyal to Voltron on Ariel, but I know nothing about any connection with our ancients. So this is our first taste, basically, in all of Voltron Force that there is an ancient connection to Voltron on other planets.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So once more, Vince reaches out to touch a vein of metal in the walls, and he gets a surge of power. And then he starts that glow again.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start to see him going on instinct. He starts to trace a path along the wall, following a vein into another passage. And then Daniel says, Vince. And then they get to another room, and Daniel says, what? And then Vince says, I don't know. That's all I've got. And they're standing in the front of a blank wall of rock,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Daniel says, this is what we came here to find, a dead end? And then Daigo says, you have to trust Vince's instincts. He will know. And then Daniel just snaps. He says, yeah, I get it. Vince is special. We know. But he's not the only one putting his life on the line for the Voltron Force. We all... And then Larmina grabs him. And she says, he doesn't speak for all of us. Excuse us for a moment.
Did you notice that there's a slight color error in this sequence where Larmina has black pants as opposed to gray pants? In that shot where
Really?
she grabs him, there are numerous minor color errors with Larmina throughout the series, where it seems like they haven't quite made up their minds about what color to make her. But yeah, her pants are very briefly black in this shot. So there you go.
That the continuity person should have caught that.
I was just gonna say, maybe she has royal color changing pants. Who knows?
I just happen to like the fact that she took Daniel down the way she did. I was just like, okay.
Yeah, with no effort.
Right.
She had every right to it. He was getting a little boisterous.
Yes.
So Daniel says, hey. And then Larmina says, okay, what exactly is the problem? Daniel says, nothing. And then she smacks him on the forehead and he goes, ow. She goes, stupid answer. Try again.
Yeah, she punches him in the shoulder, I think, in the actual show. But yeah.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, I think so.
Daniel says, you won't understand. You can't really. I mean, Vince obviously has some kind of destiny going on here. It's like he's been a part of the Voltron Force before he even knew about the Voltron Force. And with you, it's the same thing. You're royalty. You were born to do this. So what does that make me? Just some punk kid who got lucky. Do you feel sorry for him at this point at all?
No.
No.
Because he got lucky.
No, because he's still being selfish, right?
Yes.
It's all about him.
Yeah.
He still doesn't understand.
I think it's going to take him beyond episode 26 to understand, but we'll see.
Yeah. So Larmina says, you know that's not how it is. And then Daigo says, Larmina, other one, come quickly. He doesn't even remember Daniel's name.
Love it.
Larmina says, Vince, are you all right? And Vince says, it's a door. So there's this blue door line, into the wall.
Yeah,
right?
it reminds me almost of that that glowing starlit outline to the door that leads into, is it Minas Tirith in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
The mines of it's the mines of Moria, I think.
Right.
Is, where they're sitting outside trying to figure out the password to enter.
But he had to say it in Elvish, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
It was like Open Sesame, but he had to say it in Elvish.
Yes. Say friend and enter or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So they still got red configuration Voltron, and we're outside with the lions again.
Yep.
And Lance says, looks like we've got Wade running scared. And Pitch says, I agree. It might be a good chance to put Voltron's other new configuration through the paces.
Mm-hmm.
And Lance says, no, see, I was just pointing out how fun this is for me. And now we're seeing how selfish Lance is. But then Hunk says, fun was meant for sharing, Lance. And so Lance says, okay, take the lead, big guy. And then Hunk says, sweet, activate Hunk head. Keith says, Hunkhead? And then Hunk says, yeah, the lingo's a work in progress. Let's scrap these things. And he says, form wrecking maces. So they've got the wrecking maces now, and the wrecking maces are going after the machines, but it doesn't last very long, does it?
No.
I mean, at that point, the Lion Riders are saying, hail the return of Voltron, defender of the universe. And then all of a sudden they start losing power.
And they had lost power previously, but we didn't really mention that here. When they were at Red Center as well, there was a small dip in power, but nobody mentioned it.
That's right, because they were all caught in the heat of battle or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I want to point out very quickly that when Red Center Voltron separates, take a close look at how it happens. This is, again, I've been studying this stuff ridiculously to a ridiculous degree. When Red Center Voltron jumps up in the air, take a look at how his leg is posed. The blue leg obscures Voltron's torso so that when the lions split apart, you see Red Lion, normal Red Lion with its limbs roughly in the right spots. It's not the red torso of Voltron, but because the blue leg was raised up right before they split, it obscures the fact that they've cut from the red torso to the normal Red Lion. This is the kind of editing that they do in this show, which is really, really clever. So
okay.
I did not notice that. That's cool.
Yeah. I didn't take a look at it as slowly as you did.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh well.
That's okay. I've done that with other things that I've like gone back and still paused and then gone frame by frame by frame because you see something and it's like, what was that? You know, so yeah, you're not alone.
Okay.
So Keith says, Hunk, what's going on? And Hunk says, power levels dropped to near zero. This shouldn't be happening. We had a full charge. Pidge says, it's the configuration shifts. They must draw more power than a regular formation. Lance says, science it up later, Pidge. We've got more of a now problem. So, of course, seeing Voltron's weakness, right? The drills converge on one spot, backing in toward each other, and then they start latching together and forming their own Voltron.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck?
Drilltron.
Drilltron. There you go.
I gotta say, I generally really like the visual designs in Voltron Force, but I don't think the drill robots or the combined mega drill, which I think is what they call it in the script, I don't think either of them look very impressive. I mean, you know, they do their thing. Oh no, they're doing their thing, but just visually with their spindly little legs and all that, they just don't look that tough.
Right, it's not as impressive as you know, like a forming, I don't know, like a robot forming or something like Voltron forming. It's not that impressive. It's like, ooh, okay, you know.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, it's a Jenga game with drill bots.
Yeah, it's not like you have lions coming together that have the spiritual forces of nature, you know, the forest, the rain, the water, you know, whatever, the fire, the land, all that kind of stuff coming together into one, you know?
Yeah.
So
I just wish they had given the individual drill bots tougher looking silhouettes so that when they did stack on top of each other, the end result at least had more substance to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So at that point, Keith says, scramble back to the lions. We're nothing but one big target this way. So like you said, they all scramble apart into their individual lions and they start backing up. And Chief Callan says, retreating? We've waited years for your return and now you run like a frightened child? By the way, do we know who the voice of Chief Callan is?
Yes, it's credited, but I don't remember. I don't have it on my screen right now.
I'd like to find out who the voice of Chief Callan is.
Yes. Callan is also Sam Vincent.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
So he's Pidge, Alfor, and Chief Callan in this episode.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, those are three completely different voices. There's no way I would have thought that was the same actor.
Yep.
Wow. Good for him. So at this point, we hear Wade's voice on the loudspeakers of this big giant Drilltron.
Voltron.
Sure.
Is that what we're calling it? Okay,
Sure.
Drilltron. Okay, so this time Wade says, Voltron's time has passed, Lion Riders. The Alliance has no use for relics, nor do you. The universe will get used to a future without Voltron. I'm making your planet a big part of that future. Now, as we had discussed previously, Greg,
Before recording, right?
yeah, this whole
Yeah.
thing here was sort of taken apart from the original script.
Mhm.
Okay, so I don't know if this is something that Gary Chalk does when he's in the recording studio or whatever, and he goes through the reading of it, and they decide that it doesn't sound quite right when Wade says it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So they start, patching things around a little bit,
Mhm.
or if Gary Chalk actually rewrote this himself. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows?
But it was originally written, Lion Riders, Voltron's time has passed. The Alliance has no more use for this relic, and neither do you. It's time the universe got used to a future without Voltron. I'm making your planet a big part of that future.
That's
I mean,
interesting.
it still came out sounding exactly like Wade. So
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Sure. I'm not going to doubt the Sky Marshal of the Galaxy Alliance.
Right. So in Alora's cockpit, Alora looks worried about what she's hearing, and she says, I'm not sure I want to hear the details of that future. And then before the Lion Riders can even respond, the four Krelshi leap out and into the fight, attacking some of the combined drilling machine. And Wade says, what? And then Chief Callan, Krelshi? And then Lance says, what got into them? So now we're back into the mines again. And Vince is approaching that hidden door in the cliff face. And Vince says, the closer I get, the stronger it feels. I know we have to get inside, but how? And then as it turns out at that moment, Krelshi bursts through the hidden door. Everything rumbles around them. The Krelshi knocks Vince to the ground and then grabs him in his mouth.
Mhm.
And then Vince is grasping in pain. And Daniel says, Vince. And he gets taken away by the Krelshi. And Daniel starts to get his VoltCon powers going, and he goes after him.
Yeah, so this scene, there are a couple moments in Voltron Force, the program as a whole, where the animation just doesn't quite add up. I know we talked about this in the episode Karan, where the Lions escape Wade's prison on Tarvos, and there's a really odd animation sequence when the Lions finally leave the base just before the moon implodes, where the shots are a little odd. There's a case of that here, where in the actual episode, if you watch it, the lion or the Krelshi comes out of that chamber and then grabs Vince and then runs through a doorway. And there's this glowing orange colored pillar. That's actually what's supposed to be on the other side of the door that it just emerged from. So, and it's running from screen left to screen right. So if you're watching this, it looks like the lion ran out through that hidden door, grabbed Vince, and ran through another door behind the cadets. And then later in the episode, they go back through that first door into that same chamber with that weird orange glowing stone structure. So
Right.
It's a little tough to follow visually. I don't know why they did that, but they did.
So you couldn't actually tell where the Krelshi was with Vince when Daniel finally caught up with him.
Yes, it's confusing.
Okay.
Because it looks like they're just in the regular cavern. So I don't know.
Okay. So that was the end of Act 2.
Yep.
So
Final stretch.
we're coming into Act 3 now, and we're on the plains of Ariel, and the Lion Riders are trying to drive the Krelshi away, but they're not having much success.
Mhm.
And the Lion Riders are saying, yeah, get back. And Chief Callan says, protect the Krelshi, fight like lions, no matter the cost. And then Chief Callan says, Lion Riders forward. And then you see this really cool image of the Lion Riders all assembled together in formation going, and that was one of my memories of this episode was that scene.
Yeah, it's a really nice setup. And it really makes the Voltron Force look pretty lame here. I mean, oh no, we're one big target. Let's split apart and run away. And then there are these people in normal sized lions defending their spiritual counterparts or whatever from this giant thing. And they're just like hanging back. What's up with that?
Here's the thing. The weapons that the Lion Riders use too is like bow and arrow and spears.
So let's pretend that Voltron was totally dead, that its batteries were dead. They could have used their own VoltCon weapons. We've already seen them use them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah.
If they had no power, they could have gotten out of their lions and done just as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was sad to see the Lion Riders going after Wade's drills. And I mean, spears and arrows are having no effect on this thing.
No.
At all. But at least they're trying, right?
Right. So it's like watching Doctor Who in the 70s where Unit, I don't know if you guys have ever watched the older Doctor Who, where the third Doctor era, where Unit, the Brigadier keeps having all of his men shoot at these horrible alien monsters with guns, and they never, ever work. But anyway, that's how it is here.
It's like the Ewoks going after the ATSTs.
Yes. Except those were successful.
Yeah.
With the logs and all that.
Oh,
So Princess Allura starts feeling bad. She says, we have to help them. Pitch says power levels are still dangerously low, and even at full strength, the Lions were no match for Wade's drills. Keith says, maybe we don't have much chance of surviving this fight, but if we turn our backs now, the idea of Voltron is dead.
Yeah. Especially since those guys are fighting tooth and nail outside while these people are just sitting here talking about it.
Right.
Yeah. Voltron isn't about a giant robot, is it?
No. No, not at all.
It's about people coming together with a common purpose and common goals to defend the universe.
The lions look nice, and have a cool effect, and people go, ooh, lions.
But the idea of Voltron is not
the lion.
But
Right.
So Pitch says, well, yeah, I just didn't want anyone getting their hopes up. And then we come back to Daniel, Vince, Larmina, and Daigo. And Daniel has just jumped on the top of the Krelshi and he's saying, let him go. And Larmina joins the fight with her battle staff. And Daigo is looking horrified by this, right? He says, no, the Krelshi would never harm him. It's not its fault. And then finally, with a combined strike from Daniel and Larmina, Vince is knocked loose from the Krelshi's mouth. And Daniel, Larmina, and Daigo rush up to check on him. Daigo says, Vince. And Daniel says, you okay, buddy? Vince says, legs feel like they're burning. And Larmina says, easy, don't try to walk yet. And Vince says, have to. I need to get through that door. Daniel says, we can take it. And then Larmina says, definitely, because the Krelshi's standing between them and the door, right?
Yes. And that's what's so confusing, because they go back through the chamber and it looks just like the chamber that we saw the Krelshi run into earlier. It's weird.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So Daigo says no, and he says, you don't understand these creatures. And then Daniel said, oh, actually, as he says that, the Krelshi snaps at Daigo, but Daniel swoops in to knock him out of the way. So Daniel, with his fast speed and everything, gets Daigo out of the way, and he says, kid, I'm pretty sure you don't understand it right now either. So
I got a quick question about the character Daigo. His name is very unique. And I have to wonder if is it pure coincidence or was it intentional, since Jeremy Corey was part of the story writing team on this episode. Is Daigo an amalgamation of Dai from Die Rugger and Go from Go Lion?
Could be.
Inquiring minds want to know. I like that.
It's a good question.
Yeah. Anyway.
Die Rugger, go.
Die Rugger and go Lion. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Larmina leaps into the fight, single-handedly taking on the Krelshi, and says, "Get Vince where he needs to go. I've got this." Daniel gets Vince, and he's sort of like carrying him in his arms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he uses his super speed to race past the Krelshi while Larmina's got it distracted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So then they get inside the door, and Vince and Daniel find an ancient but advanced sort of metal shop. And then Daniel puts him down, and Daniel says, "Okay, you're here. So what kind of here are we looking at?" Vince says, "It looks like some kind of forge, a metalworking shop. They must have put it where the mine's metal vein was strongest." So Daniel says, "Go ahead and touch it. You know you're dying to." So Vince reaches out, and a surge emerges from him and flows into the metal vein all the way to the planetary core. So then we see outside, we're still fighting, and Wade says, "You backed the wrong team, Lion Riders." And then before Wade can deliver the fatal blow, light bursts from the holes dug in by the drills, causing everything around those that big combined drill to just start to melt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Hunk says, "What just happened?" Pidge says, "Whatever it is, it's restoring the Lions. We got full power." So Keith says, "Great." And then Chief Callan says, "Sky Marshal Wade, I'm satisfied with our choice. Lion Riders forward." So then the Lion Riders and the Krelshi join the Voltron Force in dismantling the rest of the Mega Drill, the Drilltron. And then back in the caves, Daniel says to Vince, "You just saved the planet again, didn't you?" Vince says, "Probably, but only because you helped me."
Aw.
So Daniel says, "Helper to the special one, huh? As long as I get to fly a line, I'll take it for now." And then Daniel says, "You heard the for now part, right?" And then Vince says, yeah. And then the Krelshi comes in, and Vince says to it, "We're leaving." Sort of like he knew what the Krelshi was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel says, "That noise the Krelshi made, you understood it, didn't you?" Vince says, "Yeah." And Daniel says, "What did it say?" Vince says, "It said I wasn't ready." Daniel says, "For what?" Vince says, "I have a standard policy about not asking giant electro ghost lions stupid questions."
Good policy.
Something Daniel got stopped from doing earlier from Lance. So Larmina says, "Everybody good?" Daniel says, "Yep, you?" Larmina nods, but Daigo looks a little guilty. He says to Daniel, "Thank you for saving me. I was unfair in my judgment of you." And Daniel says, "I get that a lot."
Wonder
Yeah, exactly. Daigo says, "May I make it up to you?" And Daniel says, "Depends. How?" And Daigo says, "Larmina asked me earlier what was the fastest way to the surface." And then you see them coming out, riding on lions out of the hole and onto the surface.
Where did those lions come from?
I don't know.
Door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3.
Right.
They might have come in handy against that Krelshi earlier. I don't know, but
So they're all together on the surface now, and Chief Callan says, "We cannot thank you enough for restoring peace to our planet." Pidge says, "I'm not really sure what we did." Lance says, "But we're happy to take the good publicity. Go Voltron." And Chief Callan says, "It seems the Voltron Force has some very special cubs among them," referring to the cadets. And Princess Laura says, "It seems we do." And Larmina says to Vince, so Larmina says to Daniel, "I saw what you did when that Krelshi took Vince. You ran toward danger because a teammate was in trouble. Daniel says, so? And Larmina says, so like you said, Vince has some kind of destiny. And I was born into this. But you're here because you earn it every day. And that's it. She gives his hand a reassuring squeeze.
Oh,
Aw.
there we go.
So there you go. That's it.
Yeah. And I guess we know the voice cast. It's the standard voice cast for
Yep.
the main characters. We already touched on Ashley Ball playing Daigo, Sam Vincent doing triple duty as Pidge and Alfor and Callan. And yeah, everybody else is par for the course there. So yeah.
Cool. So
What do you think of the episode? Yeah.
What did you think, Marika?
I liked it. It had been a while since I had seen it. So, once I found out I was going to be joining you guys, I went ahead and I rewatched it. And it brought me so much joy. I forgot how much I liked Voltron Force. I've been there through all of the versions, the one we don't talk about and the newest one. And, so it brought a lot of joy back, because it reminded me how much I enjoyed watching it to begin with. So now I'm going to be like every night I'm going to watch an episode again and just enjoy it. Basically, I had a good time with it.
Yep. I like this one a lot too. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, like I said before, the image that always stuck with me after all these years, 10 years now, was the one of the Lion Riders together in formation going after them, and just that image when you think of this episode, Lion Riders Return, that's what it's all about. I mean, you've got this people and they talk about the ancient smithing and everything that they don't even do anymore.
Right.
They talked about Wade coming in to try to steal Korite. And then you see the hieroglyphics and you're thinking about, well, maybe there's some ancient connection here to Voltron and how they've always been supporters of Voltron and everything. So I thought it was great. You're seeing glimpses of people from other planets that support Voltron that, they could use that right now. They could use this underground, group of people that are supporting Voltron, even though Wade is still heavily in the forefront as Sky Marshal Wade for the Galaxy Alliance.
Right. I also love that they were on another planet. I mean, how often is the Voltron Force doing stuff on Eris? All the shows except for Legendary Defender, of course, where they were on a spaceship all over the place. But typically they're on Eris a lot of the time defending the castle or whatever. And it's just nice because I think the past couple episodes they were on Eris for their stuff. So it was nice for them to get to a brand new place and meet people that you will see more of later.
Going back to the part about the hieroglyphics, I also like the fact that every single version of the show has always had that in there somewhere. The original series had it, Legendary Defender had it, this Voltron Force has it. I'm not quite sure if Third Dimension did, but I'm sure it did.
They had the Lion Archive,
right.
library with all these old texts and things.
But I like the fact that each series you've got a different planet that's got something to do. Like in Legendary Defender, there was the episode that opened on another planet, and you saw on the walls there was the drawings of Voltron, or the carvings. So I like the fact that's kind of been a continuity throughout a lot of things, and I think that also helps signify the connection between spirituality and reality and how everything comes together.
Did you know that the first podcast that we ever did for Let's Voltron, the official Voltron podcast, was called The Legend of Voltron?
There you go. Good title. I actually did. Yes.
It's tightly woven into all the different versions of Voltron that we've seen, and it's all about how legendary Voltron is.
Exactly. And that is what feeds the hope to all the people. You have this legend and some have seen it and passed it down through the ages, and it grows.
Yep. I love the lore, the mystery and the lore of Voltron and each of its incarnations. Good stuff.
And
Yep,
it's
yep.
also what keeps the fans going too, because there's always the chance that Voltron could rise again.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep. Especially when he's needed the most.
That's right. Like right now. Get on it, Web.
Yeah.
Bring back Voltron.
That's right.
So I would very much be interested in seeing what is the next incantation or
Definitely.
Voltron. It'd
Me
be
too.
interesting to see that, whether it's live action or whether it's an animated movie or whatever. I'm okay with whatever.
There's been talks of a live action for years. I have a friend of mine who discovered pictures and he kept sending them to me. And I was like, well, these are older. I've seen these before. He's like, maybe it's going to happen this time. I'm like, fingers crossed, because I would love to see that happen. I mean, we have the technology to be able to make the lions realistic, in computer animation. So it would be great if they did.
Yeah, I can imagine there's a million artists out there that would love to work on a live action version of Voltron.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
To just say that you were a part of that,
Yeah, it would be cool.
I mean, you've seen some of these movies that have come out from like Marvel and stuff like that, and they've got basically, because they've been so successful with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that they have basically unlimited, stockpiles of money.
Oh yeah.
So when you look at the credits at the end, you see all the special effects houses that have been a part of that movie. And it goes on and on and on. You keep on seeing more and more groups of special effects houses that are working on this.
Yep.
Yeah. Incidentally, if you look at the end credits of most Voltron Force episodes, I think there is a copy paste error.
Oh, really?
Because the credits are miles long. And when I interviewed Cecilio Ampangan Jr. for my Lions of Pilots of Bots.com website.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot of the animation and rigging for Voltron Force. And I was trying to find all references to him in the credits, and I noticed he had multiple titles, but the titles were listed more than once as well. And I think they pasted whatever they did when they made the title cards at the end. I think they might have pasted the credits twice. And they're shrunk down. I think that might be what they've done here.
Do you think that's so they can keep it long enough to match with the music?
You could always change title cards more slowly. So yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, even though I had noticed that, even I have not gone back and looked at every single credit to confirm that hypothesis.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And if nothing else, that is a really cool piece of trivia.
Yeah, if it's true.
In there twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we're looking forward to doing more of these episode reviews. So, look for us on YouTube. We'll be showing these on YouTube. Also, letsvoltron.com. And then, of course, check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And then, of course, we still have our TeePublic store. And we still have Let's Voltron on Alexa. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Let's Voltron, or Alexa, what is it? What's the command that I have to do?
Is it open?
Open. Yeah. Alexa, open Let's Voltron.
And I will tell you, Mark, that we now have an Alexa at the house, and we did in fact try it, and it was fun to see the labors of your love for Voltron.
So after all this time, you finally got a chance to experience it?
Yes, and it was quite an experience.
How many times did you do it to see if before you caught one that was repeated?
We did not play it that as many times as you might think, because I am the Voltron fan in the house, and it is in a common room. So you know what I mean.
So that would be like, did you ever see the movie The Dukes of Hazzard?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The one with
Burt Reynolds as Boss Hogg.
No, yeah, the one with Burt Reynolds as Boss Hogg.
Yeah.
the other guy was the guy who played Stifler on American Pie.
Okay.
I can't remember the actor. Oh, Sean William Scott. I think is his name.
Okay.
So anyway, he discovers, after the General Lee got fixed by Cooter, he plays the horn and it plays Dixie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they both think that's really cool the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time he plays it, and then he's like, yeah, cool. And then the third time he does it, then Lucas had enough, and Bo still likes it, but Lucas like, no, that's enough. So I could see how your family would be if you kept on going.
Yeah,
Alexa, open Let's Voltron.
Right. But anyway, it was cool to finally experience that. So
yeah,
That sounds fun.
so we are also going to be appearing at VoltCon in October, and
so are you.
Mama Voltron is
That's
too.
right.
Yes, I will be there. I'm looking forward to it.
Any do we get a chance to hear anything about what costume you might be wearing this time?
Well, I've been trying to update the one I tried to bring out last year because I wasn't happy with it. And unfortunately, time constraints last year didn't help. But I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet. I've got a few ideas floating around in my head, and we'll see which one decides to make itself best known. But hopefully I'll have something new. If not, Mama Voltron will be there because, people seem to love that outfit and I love wearing it. It's very comfortable. And we'll see what happens. Might have some kind of mashup going on,
Nice.
All right.
It'll be
Cool.
awesome one way or the other.
Thank you. I hope so.
And thanks for joining us on Let's Voltron, the official Voltron podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a great time.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. It was great to see you again.
And we'll see you all next time on
Let's Voltron.
Let's go.